Hi everyone, this is Tom with the LEC preview of the final week of the LEC Summer Split. We are heading into another super weekend with 3 game days, so there's a lot to cover and only one playoff spot left to be grabbed by one of 4 teams. So it's going to be interesting to see which team that will be. And of course, there's still a race ongoing for top seeding in the playoff bracket among the 5 teams that have already qualified. So let's get into the matches that are going to be played and see what I think that the results are going to be. We kick off with Vitality versus Schalke 04, and I think both of these teams are in very bad shape. Vitality is not consistent with their team play. They have great individual performances if you look at the laning phase, but then as soon as team fighting arrives, they are completely scrambly. They are all over the place. Schalke 04, on the other hand, they play more like a team, but they just aren't that good as a team. So that's very difficult for them to combat. Now, ultimately, what do I look at here? And it's mostly that Vitality's individual level of play is just high enough, I think, in order to beat Schalke 04. Schalke 04 has nothing to lose anymore, so maybe that loosens them up and makes them play a bit better than they have beforehand. We have seen it before where teams have already been eliminated from playoff contention, started to all of a sudden win games against better teams because they felt loose. They could do everything they wanted to, and maybe Vitality crumbles under the pressure of still wanting to be in that spot. But if I look at the team's performances altogether, I think that Vitality is going to edge this one out. Then we go to SK Gaming versus Astralis, and both of these teams are still in the running for a playoff spot as well. I think that SK Gaming has really come together as a team over the past weeks. I still don't think they're a very good team, but you can definitely see the improvement in that team. Astralis has had a year-long overall progression, and what I liked, as I said in my recap video a lot about their game style last week, is that they played far more proactively, and it didn't always work out. It wasn't very clean, but they did that at least. Now, their early game is still not very good, and I think that against SK Gaming, this may become a hurdle for them if Treats gets a lead early in the jungle. We've seen him snowball this before against other opponents. So I think that for Astralis, it's really important to keep as much control as possible over the early game and then play out the control style that they used to. And I do expect them to win because overall, as a team, they are just more in sync in what they want to do. They have much better idea of the game plan and how they want to tackle the opponent that's facing them. Rogue versus Excel is a third match on Friday, and I don't know if Rogue is just the better team. Obviously, they did lose against Mad Lions, but I think that was a bit of an outlier because Mad Lions had such a big draft advantage. And I also think that Rogue against Mad Lions wasn't really sure what to do with the draft disadvantage, but I don't think that against a team like Excel, this is going to be much of a problem. Not that Excel draft incredibly terribly or something like this, but more that I think that Rogue's plan of controlling the game and then pushing it out from there, creating leads around the map and getting an item advantage that way, so that in team fights they're better. I think that is just something that is going to work against Excel. I think that's only against top teams that really have a good understanding of what they're doing. That is something that can be punished. I just don't think that Excel is there yet. As a team, they have grown a lot ever since Marcoon and NVN were added to the roster, and they have a much higher skill cap, I think, but I still think that for this team, in order to contest Rogue, they need much more time together to improve. So we go to Mad Lions versus G2 as the fourth game. Another very interesting game. I think Mad Lions is now tied for second, which is very impressive considering the pretty bad start they had to the split, where they didn't look like the Mad Lions we knew at all, but it seemed like they held on, right? G2 obviously also a team that didn't look like the team we knew from before, going through a rebuilding phase themselves. So this is really where 2 teams that should be on top of the league are in and now are undergoing crucial growing phases. Now, I don't think that either team is gonna adhere too much value on this specific opponent in this specific game. I think it's just another game that counts towards being important for those playoff seedings. But I do think that it's going to be a very interesting match, of course, because when you have 2 high caliber teams such as this playing, it's fireworks guaranteed, and especially if it's G2 and Mad Lions, who have a bit of a rivalry ever since Mad Lions defeated G2 in the spring playoffs in 2020. Now, if I look at the matchup overall, I think that G2 is a little bit cleaner than Mad Lions overall, but it's a very close game, obviously. I would give it to G2. I still think it's going to be very close. Then we go to Misfits versus Fnatic. I think that even though Fnatic had a pretty terrible week last week, I still do think I will favor them against Misfits, because Misfits, they're like this good team that doesn't do anything super special, whereas Fnatic is, maybe if you look overall, a maybe slightly worse team when it comes to controlling the game, but they have such a good game plan and they all commit so well to it that I think against a team like Misfits, who doesn't necessarily have the best game plan but just plays out the game well as it comes to them, that I do think that Fnatic has an edge here, and I think that through early aggression, this is a game where Mad Lions, where Fnatic is going to be able to acquire a lead and then extend that further. Now, Misfits is a team that, as I just mentioned, is very good at recognizing what is happening in the game and responding to that. So perhaps if they pick some really like late game scaly comp, that they will able to mitigate the damage and actually push back. But I do think that Fnatic is gonna come out on top here through that aggression and through that very good team play that they have in that aggression. On the second day, we have SK Gaming versus Misfits. Yeah, again, SK Gaming is looking better than they have, but I still think Misfits is the top team. So I just think Misfits will win this. Top lane matchup is going to be very cool, I think, because we have Jedunks, who's been playing pretty well in the top lane. I think a solid top lane versus Hirit, who is also a very good top lane. But other than that, I don't know, Razork is playing well, and I guess in treats, obviously, you have kind of the biggest name on SK Gaming, who has really made a name himself swapping to the jungle this split. But other than that, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be too exciting. I just think that Misfits will be the better team here. XL versus Tval is then a direct match for the playoffs contention spot. Yeah, it's one team, XL, who is probably better at finding proactive engages versus a team that is trying to be more reactive and is good at this. So that's going to be interesting to see, a more offensive versus a more defensive playstyle. Now, I think for Astralis, the most important thing is just controlling the damage again in the early game. And then from there on, once mid game comes around, start roaming, start picking off XL players if XL hasn't pulled ahead too much. Now for this one, I'm very interested in the mid lane matchup, because Nuke Dog and Medjifelix, it's not a matchup that last year you would have thought, oh wow, that's probably going to be amazing, because Medjifelix wasn't in the league yet, and Nuke Dog was having a very terrible split last summer split. But this time around, I think both of these players have been playing very well for the team and a very important factor in the small successes that they have had each. So that's going to be interesting, but I do think that Astralis will win it. Vitality versus Rogue. Yeah, Vitality is uncoordinated. Just, flying around the room trying to hit something, whereas Rogue just takes a step back and observes, and then in one swat, kills the fly, so to speak. Where, yeah, I don't think Vitality is going to be able to do much unless they get a massive lead early on. That is just too much of a snowball. But yeah, I think Rogue will absolutely win this. Then we go to Schalke 04 versus G2 Esports, and yeah, it won't surprise you. I just think G2 will win this, even though Schalke 04 obviously has that curse over G2. Schalke is in really bad shape. G2 is looking better every week. So yeah, G2. Mad Lions versus Fnatic is the match of the week. It's an incredibly close game. I think this is going to be the closest game of the entire weekend. Two teams that, well, Fnatic just had to find their footing after last weekend. I guess they got a bit of a wake-up call. Mad Lions still finding their footing, coming back to the stage and playing better there. Now, I do think that Fnatic will win this, and that is mostly because I think last week was a bit of an outlier for them. I still do think that they need to clean up their gameplay quite a lot if they want to have a very good shot at making worlds. They have a decent shot, but if they really want to pin things out, they need to clean up their play a lot. Mad Lions is probably cleaner, but if they play their game, but they're also, I feel like, a bit more inconsistent in what they want to do. I think last week they played very well versus Rogue, obviously, but you could still see that every now and then there would be some inconsistencies, maybe a bit of not friction within the teammates in like personally, but maybe in how they wanted to approach the game. And I just think that Fnatic does this slightly better than Mad Lions, but as I said, it's probably like a 51-49 matchup because this can really go either way. I just think that Fnatic has a very small edge over Mad Lions here. SK versus Rogue kicks off Sunday, the final day of the regular split in general. Rogue's probably going to win this. They control the game and then win late. Vitality versus Astralis. This is very interesting because similar to Excel versus Astralis, this Vitality versus Astralis is a lot about one side playing early aggression versus the other side playing control. Now, Vitality is obviously hyper aggressive in the early game, which, if they pick the right targets against Astralis, this could be a very good snowballing thing for them. But I do think that here in the mid lane, where you have Leader who has been kind of throwing some early games with unnecessary deaths, versus a calm, collected Felix who scales and then wins the game, kind of like Larsen Light in some way, I think. And how he plays some of these games, even though Felix can also play aggressively very well, as we have seen this split. I think that, yeah, I don't see Vitality winning this, really. I think Astralis have just really impressed me overall with how they've been performing the past weeks, even against stronger opponents, and I think against the weaker opponents, they will just be the better team. Now, Schalke 04 versus Fnatic is the third match of the Sunday. Yeah, I'm sorry, Schalke, but you're probably also gonna lose this. It's Fnatic. Yeah, I don't know how much more I should say about this. Schalke is just not a very good team at the moment, and Fnatic is a good team. So, yeah. Misfits versus Mad Lions. I do think that Mad Lions will win this one, actually, because, as I said earlier, I think Misfits is a very good team that doesn't necessarily have their own plan, but is very good at adapting to what their opponent does. Whereas Mad Lions have shown that they can have very good plans about how they want to tackle the game. So I think that is something they will do against Misfits. Jungle is going to be very interesting here because we have the two Spanish junglers in the league going head to head, two junglers who have been performing very well. I think Razork has probably been the second best jungler in the league this split. And Mad Lions overall, yeah, I do think that we saw last week that Karzi and Humanoid were a very good team. I think Humanoid overall has been playing very good. Now, if Misfits focuses a lot on the top lane versus Armut, who's been having a rough split, maybe they can snowball a lead there. But other than that, I think that Mad Lions is probably gonna win this because, yeah, they've started to get a bit more in the groove. And even though against a team like Fnatic, who is very proactive in the phase, I think against a team like Misfits, Mad Lions will have more time to come online and find their rhythm in the game and find the win there. And we close off the weekend with G2 versus XL, and I don't think it will surprise you that I think G2 will win this. Maybe they will troll with the draft if standings don't matter to them anymore or whatsoever. I don't think they will do that because I think in general they try to be a bit more respectful of their opponents. And also perhaps this game will matter for XL's playoffs chances, right? So who knows how that's going to go down. But overall, G2 is just a better team. I think there's a possibility that XL wins because their Marcoon is a really, really good jungler who's been developing quickly. And obviously, we saw in the clash earlier, this split, that XL was able to deal quite a, I don't know, like, they hit G2. So even though that was with, it was probably with a different mid jungle. But anyway, I think that, this game is going to be a G2 win. Though, I don't know, XL has a chance. You know, every team has a chance. I'm not writing them off. I'm not saying they're gonna be stomped, maybe. But that's not what I expect. I just think that G2 is just gonna do G2 things in like 35 minutes. They'll win the game or something like this. But anyway, those are my predictions for the upcoming weekend. Let me know in the comments below which games you are looking forward to. If you like the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to see more of my content, including my articles, follow me on Twitter. You can see that down below. And as always, stay tuned for more content. I'll be back on Monday with the LEC recap.